Have you ever noticed something curious about life after 80? The lazier you allow yourself to be in certain areas, the calmer, happier, and more at peace you seem to become. It might sound counterintuitive. After all, society tells us that being busy, productive, and constantly active is the key to success and fulfillment. But research and real-life stories from people who have lived into their 80s and beyond tell a different story. They show that letting go, slowing down, and intentionally doing less in certain parts of life can actually make your later years far more joyful, serene, and meaningful. Think about it. For decades, many of us have been chasing achievements, checking off tasks, trying to control the uncontrollable, and constantly worrying about what others think. And while ambition and diligence have their place, after a certain point, this constant striving starts to cost us our energy, our health, our peace of mind, and sometimes even our joy. Happiness after 80 doesn't come from moving faster, doing more, or proving that you're still capable. It comes from the opposite, from slowing down, letting go of what no longer serves you, and embracing life as it is, messy, imperfect, and beautifully fleeting. In this video, we're going to explore 5 key areas where being a little lazy, letting go, saying no, and stopping the unnecessary effort can actually unlock a happier, lighter, and more fulfilling life after 80. These aren't about giving up or being weak. They're about choosing what truly matters, protecting your energy, and discovering the freedom that comes from doing less of what doesn't serve you. By the end of this video, you'll see why some of the most peaceful, joyful, and healthy people over 80 share a surprising secret. They learned when to step back, when to stop, and when to simply allow life to flow around them. You'll also understand how these small shifts in attitude don't just improve your mood. They can improve your health, strengthen your relationships, and even deepen your sense of purpose in your later years. So, if you've ever felt that pressure to stay busy, to control everything, or to always be on no matter your age, this video is especially for you. Sit back, relax, and allow yourself to hear what life after 80 can really feel like when you stop chasing perfection, stop pleasing everyone, and stop overloading yourself with unnecessary stress. Trust me, by the time we finish, you may realize that being lazy in the right ways isn't a weakness. It's one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. It's freedom, it's peace, it's happiness, and it's waiting for you. Now, let's dive into the first habit that can completely change the way you experience life after 80. One of the biggest sources of stress for older adults is the overwhelming need to control everything in their lives. Every detail of family routines, health decisions, finances, social obligations, and sometimes even the habits of neighbors or friends. This desire for control often comes from a place of love, responsibility, or the belief that if things aren't done your way, something bad will happen. And while it might feel like control offers safety, security, and peace of mind, in reality, it is exhausting. Every decision, every tiny adjustment, every perceived mistake becomes a weight on the shoulders, a silent, constant pressure that slowly erodes joy and peace. Take Frank, 82, a retired teacher, as an example. For most of his life, Frank prided himself on being organized, responsible, and always on top of things. He carefully guided his children's lives, corrected minor mistakes in his community, and meticulously planned every aspect of his household. To Frank, control was not optional, it was necessary. But over the years, the tension quietly grew. Minor inconveniences became sources of frustration. Small changes in routine caused worry. He noticed himself snapping at family members over things that didn't matter, feeling tense even during moments that should have been relaxing. The wake-up call came unexpectedly in the form of a mild heart attack. Suddenly, Frank's life and health demanded a hard look at his habits. The doctors reminded him, gently but firmly, that stress had been his constant companion for decades, silently impacting his heart, blood pressure, and overall well-being. It was a painful realization, but also a pivotal moment. Frank had spent years believing that holding tight to control would protect him and those he loved. Yet in reality, that very grip had been quietly stealing his peace, his health, and even his laughter. After some reflection, Frank made a conscious decision. He would begin to let go of what he couldn't control, to trust his children to make their own choices, to ignore minor irritations with neighbors, and to stop micromanaging small details that didn't truly matter. At first, it felt strange, almost risky, to loosen his grip. But gradually, something remarkable happened. He noticed his blood pressure dropping, his mood improving, and his days feeling lighter. He began laughing again, genuinely, without the tightness that had haunted him for years. He found joy in simply being present rather than constantly managing. Happiness after 80 often begins the moment you release the illusion of control. You realize that peace doesn't come from order or perfection. It comes from acceptance, patience, and trust. The storms of life, the unexpected events, disagreements, and challenges do not need to be held tightly. They pass on their own. And the realization is liberating. When you stop trying to orchestrate every outcome, life no longer feels like a constant struggle. Being lazy here, choosing not to control, not to intervene, not to micromanage, is not weakness. On the contrary, it is a profound act of wisdom and courage. It's freedom. It's the ability to finally experience life on its own terms, to savor moments without unnecessary tension, and to find happiness not in holding the world together, but in letting it flow naturally around you. For many older adults, this is a revelation. Letting go is not giving up. It's opening the door to a life that is lighter, calmer, and filled with genuine laughter. It is a reminder that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to step back, take a deep breath, and allow life to unfold without trying to control every detail. And in that quiet surrender, true freedom and true happiness emerges. Another major thief of happiness in later life is the constant urge to please everyone. For decades, many seniors have spent their lives saying yes to family, friends, colleagues, community obligations, and even strangers, often at the expense of their own well-being. The habit of people-pleasing can start early, ingrained by the belief that love, respect, or validation must be earned through constant giving. Over time, however, it becomes exhausting. Energy is drained, boundaries are blurred, and moments of true joy are overshadowed by the pressure to satisfy others. But the happiest people after 80 have discovered a surprising secret. Protecting their energy is not selfish. It is essential for genuine happiness. They learn to be a little lazy about pleasing others, recognizing that their time, attention, and emotional resources are precious and finite. Instead of rushing to agree to every request, they choose carefully where to invest themselves. They focus on what truly matters, on people and activities that bring mutual joy and fulfillment, rather than trying to carry the happiness of everyone around them. Take Ruth, for example, an 84-year-old widow who had spent decades volunteering in her community, church, and family circles. She baked, organized, cleaned, and consistently said yes to every request, even when her body ached. Her energy was low, or her heart longed for rest. For years, Ruth believed that this endless giving defined her worth. She thought that if she stepped back or refused, she would be judged as selfish or ungrateful. Over time, though, Ruth noticed a change in herself. She felt more drained than fulfilled, more burdened than joyful. She realized that the constant cycle of giving without pause had become a trap, one that kept her busy but never truly satisfied her. Then one morning, with a deep sense of clarity, she spoke to her pastor and said, "I've given enough for now. I need to step back." To her surprise, she found not judgment, but understanding. Instead of scolding or criticizing her decision, her pastor simply nodded, acknowledging her years of dedication and the wisdom in recognizing her own limits. Ruth began making small, deliberate changes. She started skipping some volunteer events. She spent quiet mornings watching the sunrise with her cup of coffee, listening to birds, or reading a book she had long neglected. These simple acts of self-care, which she had once considered indulgent, brought her a sense of peace she hadn't felt in decades. Ruth's transformation reveals an essential truth. Being lazy about people-pleasing is not a sign of weakness. It is an act of self-preservation and self-respect. It's about trusting that your worth does not depend on constant approval or validation from others. It's about recognizing that you have already given enough and that your remaining years deserve to be lived for your own joy and fulfillment as much as for anyone else's. When you let go of the compulsion to please, a remarkable thing happens. Your own joy quietly returns. Your laughter becomes freer. Your daily routine feels lighter. You start to notice the small, beautiful moments you may have overlooked for years. Morning sunlight streaming through a window, the sound of birds, the gentle hum of life outside your door. You begin to understand that you cannot carry everyone else's happiness, and that trying to do so only robs you of your own. In essence, learning to be a little lazy in this area is an act of courage, wisdom, and love, not just for yourself, but for those around you. Because when you stop overextending, you can engage with others more authentically. You give from a place of choice, not obligation, and every interaction becomes richer, calmer, and more meaningful. The freedom gained from stepping back is profound. It opens the door to a life where peace, contentment, and happiness are not afterthoughts. They are your daily reality. Perfection is one of life's heaviest burdens, a subtle, silent weight that often grows heavier as the years go by. From a young age, many of us are taught that perfection is the standard. Perfect grades, perfect careers, perfect homes, perfect families. We chase flawless results, polishing every detail, correcting every flaw, and comparing ourselves endlessly to others. And while this pursuit might feel productive or admirable, it comes at a cost. It steals joy, peace, and even connection, leaving a sense of constant tension beneath the surface of daily life. But the happiest seniors, the ones who move through their 80s with calm, laughter, and contentment, share a surprising secret. They are lazy about perfection. They've learned that chasing flawless outcomes does not bring happiness. In fact, the pursuit of perfection often blinds us to the beauty, spontaneity, and richness of life itself. Take Harold, 81, for example. Harold had spent decades meticulously caring for his home. Weekends were consumed with trimming bushes, organizing tools, arranging every item just so, and cleaning until every surface gleamed. On the surface, his house was immaculate. But what Harold didn't realize was that in his quest for perfection, he was missing the real, irreplaceable moments of life. One afternoon, while he was sweeping the garage for the third time that morning, his grandson approached him and said something simple but profoundly transformative. "Grandpa, I like it better when you sit with me, not sweep." Those words hit Harold like a gentle revelation. In his relentless pursuit of order, He had been absent from the moments that truly mattered, moments of connection, laughter, and shared memory. At that moment, Harold understood a truth that many learn only after decades of striving. Perfection is an illusion, but presence is real. Letting go of perfection allows us to notice the beauty in imperfection. Wrinkles on our hands, lines on our faces, a slightly messy living room, forgotten words, or unfinished tasks. These are not failures or flaws. They are the evidence of a life fully lived, filled with memories, experiences, and human connection. Each imperfection tells a story, a reminder that life is not meant to be pristine, but to be experienced deeply. Being lazy about perfection is not laziness in the negative sense. It is liberation. It is freedom from the constant self-criticism that so often shadows our days. It is permission to prioritize the moments that matter most. A quiet conversation, a shared meal, laughter with family, a walk in the sun, or simply sitting in silence with someone you love. It is understanding that life does not demand our perfection. It asks only for our presence, our attention, and our heart. By releasing the grip on perfection, seniors often discover a new lightness in life. The home may be a little messy, the schedule's a little looser, but the heart feels lighter, more joyful, and freer than it has in years. Laziness here is a choice, a conscious decision to step away from unnecessary pressures and embrace what truly matters. And in that space, in that acceptance of imperfection, comes a profound peace, a quiet joy, and the kind of happiness that lasts a lifetime. From early adulthood, we are repeatedly told that our worth comes from doing more. More work, more achievements, more responsibilities, more accomplishments. Society celebrates the busy, the productive, the constantly on the go. And for most of our lives, we carry that belief like a badge of honor, measuring our value by how much we can accomplish, how many tasks we can check off, or how indispensable we appear to others. But here's the truth that many discover only after reaching their 80s. Constant busyness is not a requirement for a meaningful or fulfilling life. In fact, the happiest seniors often embrace the opposite. They consciously slow down, let go of unnecessary obligations, and do less in order to truly savor the present. They understand that life after 80 is no longer about proving themselves or chasing achievements. It's about living with intention, joy, and peace. Take Margaret, 83, as an example. Margaret had spent most of her adult life in a whirlwind of activity. She volunteered tirelessly, coordinated countless community projects, attended endless social events, and always made herself available to family and friends. For decades, she equated her sense of purpose with how busy she was. Yet despite all her accomplishments, she began to feel worn down, exhausted, and disconnected from the simple pleasures of life. There was a quiet yearning inside her for something different, a life where she could breathe, reflect, and enjoy her own company without guilt or pressure. When Margaret retired fully, she made a conscious choice. She would step back from the relentless busyness that had defined her life. She began spending afternoons in her garden, tending to flowers and vegetables with patience and care, noticing the colors, the textures, the subtle rhythms of nature she had long ignored. Evenings became sacred, a time to curl up with novels she had always wanted to read, to listen to music that stirred her soul, or to simply watch the sunset in silence. The transformation was remarkable. Her stress levels decreased, her mind felt clearer and sharper, and her heart began to experience a sense of joy she hadn't felt in decades. Margaret realized something profound. Doing less was not laziness, it was wisdom. By letting go of the need to stay constantly active and productive, She had made space for presence, reflection, and true happiness. She discovered that prioritizing what truly mattered, her health, her peace of mind, her relationships, and her own happiness, brought far greater rewards than filling every moment with activity. The quieter her schedule, the lighter her spirit, and the richer her inner life became. Being lazy in this sense is not about neglecting responsibilities or giving up on life. It is about choosing carefully where to focus your time and energy. It's about ignoring the noise, the demands, and the pressures that no longer serve you, and instead investing yourself in what truly brings meaning and joy. It's the freedom to say no to the things that drain you and yes to the things that nurture your soul. The calmer your life, the happier your heart. The more you embrace doing less, the more you realize that life after 80 is not about achievement or busyness. It's about savoring the moments, embracing simplicity, and allowing yourself the grace to live fully, gently, and with peace. In the end, the true secret of thriving in later life is not more action. It's more presence, more awareness, and more intentional rest. And in that stillness, happiness quietly grows. So, there you have it. 5 powerful areas where allowing yourself to be a little lazy can actually lead to greater happiness, peace, and fulfillment after 80. Stop controlling everything. Learn to release the need to micromanage life. Trust that things will unfold naturally, and experience the relief of letting go. Stop pleasing everyone. Protect your energy and honor your own needs, knowing that your worth is not measured by how much you give to others. Stop chasing perfection. Embrace the beauty of imperfection. Notice the moments that truly matter and free yourself from endless self-criticism. Stop obsessing over productivity. Slow down, savor the present, and focus on what truly brings joy instead of trying to do more for the sake of doing more. Stop worrying about the past. Let go of regrets, old mistakes, and grudges, and allow your mind and heart to rest in the freedom of the present moment. It's worth repeating. Being lazy in the right ways is not weakness. It is not giving up or being careless. On the contrary, it is one of the most courageous and liberating choices you can make. It is a conscious decision to prioritize your peace, your health, and your joy. It is about living life with intention, gratitude, and presence, rather than constantly chasing what the world tells you matters. When you embrace these 5 habits, life begins to slow down, not in a negative sense, but in a way that allows you to finally notice the simple, beautiful moments you may have overlooked for decades. The warmth of the morning sun, the laughter of loved ones, the quiet rhythm of your own breath, and the richness of memories that bring a gentle smile to your face. In this slowing down, true peace grows, quietly and deeply, within you. So take a moment to reflect. Which of these habits could you begin practicing today? Which one feels the most freeing, the most necessary, or the most healing for your life right now? Comment below and share your thoughts. We'd love to hear which habit resonates with you. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel for more life-changing tips, insights, and inspiration specifically for seniors and older adults. Because growing older doesn't mean life slows down. It means you have the chance to live smarter, lighter, and happier than ever before. Remember, happiness after 80 is not about doing more. It's about choosing wisely, letting go, and giving yourself the freedom to simply be.